water because in case you might get a little.
I'm a talker.
You're like, I'm used to this.
I talk.
Okay.
I talk.
So I just want to know, like, how did you even grow up? Like, how does a person who is so versatile, like, how did you grow to become this person? Just kind of like walk me through
Fair
like your
enough.
childhood a little bit.
Fair enough. So by default, I grew up from my dad is a serial entrepreneur, hands down, up,
Mm,
sideways. He's gonna make something like out of everything. So I watched him, and then I had a regular 9 to 5 job, and I was like, ooh, this is work too. And so
yeah.
you watch him building something that he can carry on in the future, and then you watch the work that you're putting in for somebody else. You're like, I want to build this for my future. And so the way I've always considered a typical 9 to 5 is training, paid training. And so I always look at it like, if I wanted to start this business, I'm going to go get a job in this field to get free training, to learn the inside, to like really peep the scene. And so if you think of it that way, we're like, this is not a job, this is paid training. Like, they gonna pay me to learn something I want to do for myself anyways. Like, it's genius. Like, it's almost not fair. Like, I'm getting so much training out of this. And so that's what I did. And so anything I wanted to start, I first took a job in that field. And I had a durable medical equipment company with my dad at the age of 22. That gave me flexibility, gave me like...
What's durable medical equipment? What does that
durable
mean?
medical equipment goes like DME in the med world, but it's like wheelchairs, hospital beds, CPAP machines, like the medical equipment that's like not just Band-Aids, but like the real things that you order, you need monthly. I sold oxygen. That was the hardest thing ever.
Wait,
that was probably what made it. Oxygen. Like, I was like oxygen. Yes. The whole tank, okay? At 22 years old. And so, but with my dad, it was always, you're gonna fire. I'm gonna put you in it. Yeah. You're gonna be great. It's gonna be fine, but it's gonna hurt. It's gonna burn a little bit. Like, and so I've always. And so when I got older, I was like, well, let me not just burn. Let me just get a job first and peep the scene a little bit, because that fire kind of hurt, So I was like, ooh, let me not just kill all our money, So now I've learned to grab a job, learn the field, and then decide if I'm gonna go all in. And that's worked really good for me. Like, I swore up and down at one point I wanted a foster home. Like, and when I met my husband, his last name was Foster. I was like, this is perfect. It's a sign. I'm supposed to have an agency. And so I went to go work for one, and I realized this is too heavy. This is too much on my heart. I can't bring this home every day. I'm glad I started here versus just, I knew this was my passion. That was it. So it was like an avenue to kind of experience. So I would have to say, just by like trying through the job, through a typical 9 to 5, to figure out if it's something I want to invest in for a full career. And I just like a lot of stuff. So when you like it, you make a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so that's just a really interesting mindset. And I think it's great that you said, hey, you learned from your dad's is it transgressions? Look, I'm really bad with words. I'd be like, is that the right word? I wish I had a second phone so I could be like,
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. So I think it's really dope that you learned through your dad's, like, maybe, I don't call them mishaps, but like, you're supposed to learn through any mistakes that they make or whatever, right? Yeah. Like, and you're able to kind of grow in that sense. But I've honestly never thought of it from, hey, this is a business that I want to have, so let me go find this job to see if I actually like it.
Yeah.
Like, you're that, like, literally on the job training.
And they pay you for it.
Like, and they pay you for it. Like, that's insane. So, like, what are your thoughts about, like, I guess, traditional education in that sense?
I'm all for it. So I feel like it's about a balance, So you can learn how to use technology. You can learn how to, speak to other people who have had to do this training and to know where they're at. And so sometimes it's just knowing the part to play, But I'm also hands-on training. Like, a lot of our kids are homeschooled. My husband swore up and down for forever he wanted to be homeschooled, and I didn't want that. I was like, ooh, homeschool kids are weird. That's not what I want. And so I was like, no. Yeah. And then I went to go teach at a school, and I was like, ooh, we trusting these people with our kids? Like, I'm looking at the teacher's alley and the teacher's lounge, and I'm like, ooh, like, maybe homeschool ain't so bad.
Homeschooling is not bad at all. And that, I don't want to touch on that quite yet. Because I can talk about that for a really, really long time, about just my thoughts with the education system and all that good jazz. So just kind of hopping into, you know, hey, you were selling this medical equipment with your dad. At what point did you meet your husband?
So I had the store still. So I had the store, and at the time, Medicare was going through competitive bidding. And so it was where you have to bid the super low prices to be their only distributor. And so I was entering it, but Florida was really killing it. Like the Florida healthcare market was killing it. And I didn't want to have to deliver oxygen national.
Florida. Where were you? Where were you living?
It's actually the Bel Air Triangle of Houston. So it's still a medical company. We actually ended up selling it. It's still a DME building. So it's pretty dope. It was a front retail shop. You'd have people come in, they'd get wheelchairs, hospital beds, like you name it. Our big things were CPAPs though. CPAPs were our big pushers. So
what's a CPAP?
It's like a breathing machine that you have to use at nighttime to help with like people who can't breathe or who snore really bad. It helps them like clear their air. Yeah.
Okay, is that,
it's a big ticket item.
Oxygen?
Yeah,
that part of the oxygen?
It produces its own like flow of air.
Okay.
But it doesn't use the green tanks for the oxygen. It has like a condenser machine.
That's so dope that you were even in that business, and then kind of knowing what you're into now. So you sold the business, and then what did you get into afterwards?
So then I met my husband, and so we sold that, and I took some time off. I didn't take it off. Like, you know how I feel about work and training. So I was preparing for the wedding. So I started a personal training business because I wanted to work out. That had to be my biggest thing while I got ready for the wedding, was working out. And so I did that where I traveled with him. So I worked out in Nashville. I had clients in Nashville. I worked out here. So it was pretty much like wherever I wanted to work out, I found somebody to work out with me because that was my So that was fun. I did that for a year. And then I got married and was like, all right, you know, financial working is not needed. So it's just, what do you want to do? And I was like, well, you know, that's when I tried to
wait a minute. Okay, husband.
But he knows I can't sit still. So it wasn't gonna be just, you know, so I was like, well.
So I think you know, one of the biggest things that I do harp on a lot of the times is the fact that marriages, like wealth is built in marriages, right? And that's something that I think within our community, we don't really talk about that. We don't really talk about the fact that when you get marriage is a way to build wealth, because hey, at this point you're able to be like, look, I can sit in my femininity, I can do whatever I really want to do, and I can remain. I don't have to be in this structure. I don't have to go out every single day and just like hit the pavement, right, and just really hustle. So you get to be soft, you get to be gentle,
more strategic in your actions. You're not having
strategic.
It's not a grind where you have to like, I need this money to do this right now. So it's like, I slow ride it a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I do agree. Yep. Marriages for sure. So that's when I tried the agency, the foster agency. And I realized that was, you know, it was just too heavy for me to do long-term. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that one. And then I wanted to, he talked about homeschool. So I knew I had like a 2-year window before we started having kids.
Okay.
So I taught high school. So I was like, let's see how this goes. We're going to homeschool. I know I wanted time off to be with the family for holidays because that was something that working as, that job was actually really interesting. I started off as the agency as a recruiter, a foster agency as a recruiter. And that hired me 3 days later for her notice in. And I applied for her position. I ended up getting that position. It was the director of
Stop.
I know. It was something. He laughs at me. He's like, things like this only happen to you. And I'm just like, I don't know how it 3 days later, I ended up being, now mind you, I needed to have an LCSW license. I didn't have any of the credentials. I had to go to the state and tell them why this 24-year-old chick was going to be able to run an agency with all these kids and match these homes, and why. It was fun. It was fun, but it was hard.
You're so funny. You're like, it was fun.
I mean, it was just like, I could do this. I could wear all the, I was doing CPR training. It was all over. But it was heavy. It was heavy work because you're cases. And so that's why I was like, okay, we have to, back this up. And it was for profit. So whenever you have a foster agency, for profit, traded, that's just a really, stressful.
That's really stressful.
So it came and it fell in my lap where the company that I was with was going to be acquired by another company. And so my manager was going to be in my city. And I was like, ooh, I was used to, you know, I was okay with this long distance. But then they moved to their city. So I was like, all right. And they had, and so I saw a job posting for teachers. And so I was like, I'm going to my first job fair. Like I had never been to a job fair before. I was nervous, you know. And sure enough, I called my husband. I was like, I just went to it. And he was like, well, babe, you know, it's going to be fine. Don't worry. If you don't get this, there's going to be more job interviews. And, you know, that's your first fair. And I'm like, I got a job.
I got a job.
He was like, who hired you? Like, what? Like, he gave me my whole, like, down speech, like, about why I was going to be okay. And I was like, no, I got hired. And he was like, Lord. And
who are
and
you,
that was
Laurie? like legitimately,
it was
you
so
are this
random.
person that, well, I don't know if it's random or if it's just like how you are, right? Like the little bit that I know about you, you're so dynamic, and I can just see you in a room just convincing people, like, no, this is what my calling is. Like,
and
I'm supposed to be educating your kids.
And I feel like that's where, because like my background in school was sales and marketing leadership. And so if you're going to sell something, the best thing you can sell is yourself. So it's like, I've been selling myself for the whole, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm my biggest fan. Like, I can sell me.
Look, I'm about to put that in the comments and pin this one, because that's a whole bar. If you're going to sell something, the best thing you can sell is yourself. Like, that's a whole bar. Okay, while I do that, please carry on.
So so I sold them on why they needed me, and it was the perfect opportunity. Like, it was really 10 minutes from my house, reduced schedule. So when we did start having the children, it was close to home, and it was career and technical education. So it's marketing. I'm teaching them marketing, business skills. I'm teaching them resume. I'm doing finance. So it was great. It was like, this is my field anyways. And so
that makes sense.
Absolutely loved it.
That makes a lot of sense.
I got pregnant with the twins, so I ended up having twins.
First kids.
Yes, so I have a 13-year-old. I didn't birth him, but so then I had twins that I birthed. The twins were my very first pregnancy, and it was like all in. So
who got twins though? Is it you or your husband?
It's me. My mom's a twin. My great grandmother is a twin. Like. I should have known that it was coming. You know, I should have saw that coming. I didn't. But everybody was like, oh my gosh, we knew it. And I'm like, y'all didn't want to tell me that I didn't know. But so we had twins, and it was that was
and the cutest little kids too. Oh my gosh.
Oh, cute. They're so sweet. They're the sweetest things ever, but they are cute.
So sweet. And those are 5-year-olds.
I mean, then we went full in. So then it was like, all right, now this is the practice for, you know, the homeschooling. Now this is the practice for the, you know, this is what we worked for. So it was great. It was great those few years. And so they'll start brick and mortar school this coming August. And so they were tested for GT. So our homeschool worked, you know, the whole process.
What's GT?
Gifted and talented. So they'll be gifted and talented. So we celebrated that. Yeah. It was great. It was like, you know, when you don't have like real milestones, like that was one. Like, how do you know you're doing good as a parent? You know what I'm saying?
Huge. Like, yes.
How do you know that this is working? Like, I see them smart, but how do I know that that's what everybody else is gonna see? Right. So that was a good for me, because it was like, this is working. So
congrats.
So,
that's huge.
Thank you, girl.
Yeah.
And so then, meanwhile, baby. So like, because I had the twins, everyone would call me and be like, girl, my cousin's having a baby. Can you tell her how you got the kids to do this? Can you tell her how you packed for the twins? Can you? And that's when I was just like, man, people keep asking me questions. I kind of want to have more science behind my answers besides this is what worked for me, because, you know, that don't work for everybody just because it works.
Right. Right.
And so I went and got some doula training and started the parent prep. And it was just like, now if they had, I'll answer my homegirls and friends and all that. And matter of fact, most people who DM me, I answer their questions. But when you start referring, and I don't even know how I ended up with this client. It's just like, okay, here's the website, check it out. Let me know if you have any other questions. But it was a good spot because it was like something I enjoyed doing, something I kind of knew instinctively was just kids, from working in foster care, from working with my own children, from having a teenager. It was pretty intense, but the parent prep came that way. And then oddly enough, the ordained minister part came from me wanting to, I had a 35 or 30 before 30 list. It was 30 things I wanted to try before I turned 30. It was completely random. And that was on the list. It was just like, I want to just marry somebody. I just want to see what it feels like to be involved with another couple as intimately as you can without, you know.
Yeah.
And I did. I married one of my best friends, and it was beautiful. I cried before the wedding. I cried after the wedding.
You cried during the wedding?
I didn't cry during the wedding. I didn't cry during it. I had it together, and it was just like the ability to be here, and then be like, girl, I'm so happy for you. And then just, it was so beautiful. And so I actually enjoyed that. And so now it's just like, you know, your friends, especially now that, you know, some more and more weddings are not as huge or traditional or not in a church, and then you can't have a pastor come. Who do you have come besides someone you love and someone that, you know? So that's pretty dope. So
that's just crazy. Okay, we haven't even touched on the fact that you're a whole business consultant. On top of that.
That's a whole, And so these are all passions, right? So those are all things that I enjoy. Then there's the consulting side. So there's, you know, my husband works 5:30 to 6 every day. He enjoys working.
He's a grinder.
I'm not a morning person, so like I don't work as hard. I mean, as long. I work a little harder in the daytime because those mornings aren't for me. I'll tell somebody quick, like, ooh, I ain't gonna make that one. Like, you know, ooh, I don't know. I can't. But yeah, so somehow we squeeze them all in there. Like there's enough hours in the day to get everything where you can kind of breathe. Yeah. So it's just like, at least for me, because I'm not up at 5:30, but by the time that I get up, it's just like it's 8:30, sometimes a little 9, you know. But I'll get it in. I'll work it out. But business side is great.
Which of it all is your favorite, right? Like everything's a passion. And first of all, when's your birthday? Because
June.
I'm not like huge. You're in June, so what are you? Are you a Cancer?
June, I'm a Gemini.
Gemini. You're a Gemini, so you got multiple sides.
So it's multiple sides. And I tell them, I say, I'm all or nothing. Either I'm one speed, I'm up, or I'm down and out. Like this ain't. But it's real obvious which one it is. You know what I'm saying?
So like, which is your favorite? Like, what out of everything that you're doing? Like, do you have a favorite?
I mean, they all flow together kind of, and it's kind of weird, but like the consulting with my husband, I enjoy that. We work from home together, hang out. It's like, having the kids at home is also really dope. I go have lunch with them downstairs. And so that's kind of like our lunch break as a family, because we work so long and so hard. It's kind of nice to have that like little respite. But if I had to pick which one that I enjoy the most, it probably would be weddings. Because it's just so much. I love a wedding. A professional wedding crasher would be a thing like, oh my gosh. Like now it's like a professional wedding crasher with an invite, you know. But I would have to say it would be the weddings. I just really enjoy. I think I have 3 weddings coming up this year, and that's probably my favorite thing. It's like the anticipation, the build up, the writing. I write all the vows, or not all the vows. I write all the so like I take time, and it's like meaningful, and I love the weddings part. So that's probably my favorite if I had to. But then it's like the babies, the lingering of the relationships and like the friendships that come from it. So like that's cool too. It would be hard to pick one, but I would have to probably say marriages.
The marriages, the love of it all, and I can totally see that. I have a friend she's a wedding planner, and she just loves her favorite. She said she's never missed. She always makes sure that during the I do, she is just in a standstill. Because she's like, I always have to catch the I do, and so for you to be like, I just love the love part of it all, right? So I guess you don't go into the wedding business unless you just love. How would you say, like, you know, your husband has shaped your life?
Awesome. Like he really is like, hey, whatever you want to do, I trust it that you're going to do the fullest. And so, because it is random. It is all the way like, hey, babe, I want to start like, I already know you're going to do it right. So go ahead. And it's
right.
Hey, I need to cut my hours this week because, and I actually do a lot of volunteering too. So that's the part where it's like, I really appreciate that his understanding, because it's just like, I got to do some volunteering. It's just like, we got all this work. I'm waking up really early. And you're volunteering and I'm okay with it. You know, and it's just like that part makes you feel like, cool. And so it's just overall support and allowing me to like really be me. and not just like, nope, you got to get these hours. Nope, we got to get this work done. Or there's a time limit on it, or who's gonna watch the kids then? Like, we have support for the children. He saw I was getting overwhelmed with those hours. We extended that so I can go to the gym. It was just like, it's love. It really is. Especially have someone that you like and you get to hang with them. So it's just like, it's fun. It actually is really fun.
Yeah. How do you think that's like kind of formed your love for weddings?
Ooh, I think I loved our wedding. So our wedding is like, you know, everybody has their favorite love story. It's probably theirs, but but we're big partiers in general anyways. And so a good wedding is a good party. And so that's kind of already our theme.
Gotcha. Okay.
Our wedding, it was in 2013. Oh my gosh, 2013. And so we had.
Oh, you got some years in the game.
Yeah, well, we're coming up on 10 next year, I think. 10 is it 20? Yeah, so 10 next year.
Yeah.
And so we had, our wedding was on a Saturday, and we had a party every day leading up to the wedding, and everybody was like, "Y'all crazy? Who does that?" But Wednesday, Friday, there was a party planned because my family wasn't really from here. His family wasn't really from here, so it was practically a destination.
Where y'all from?
I'm from Chicago, Detroit area, born in Detroit, and then I was raised in like the Chicago area, and then his family is from Atlanta. And so now all of my parents here. Before, you know, everybody was everywhere. Yeah. My cousins were all over Louisiana. So only now are we all here, but it was practically a destination wedding. So we try to entertain them. Like, we're big into entertainment. Yeah. And because of that, it was like, I kind of get to entertain, you know, an audience, I guess, at the wedding, and then have the celebrations and drinks and dancing. And it was like, that's why you kind of like, he loves coming on the weddings with me. Like, wherever the wedding is, he's coming, because usually it's our friends. I don't really advertise it. So it's going to be somebody we know somehow. And so,
gotcha. That was another question I kind of had, was like, how do you even like find clients and things of that sort? So that makes sense.
It's word of mouth, and like, it's crazy that way. I have a whole like domain, Officially Yours, and it's really cute because it's like a play on the word official, and then like officiant, and then it's just like, but Officially Yours is mostly word of mouth. And so I meet people. So one of the so we were opening up a speakeasy, and our bar manager was getting married, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I just love." We're big on energy. Energy is like the number one go. Is like, how do you feel?
Wait, you have a bar? You say you have a speakeasy?
So one of the sides of the co-working office space was going to be a speakeasy, and so it has like it's really pretty. It's really like a sexy vibe, and so we had a bar manager that was starting. He actually came really like sharp guy, and I met him and his wife, or him and his girlfriend at the time, and he was like, "Man, your energy." I'm like, "We're big on energy." He was like, we just vibed and bounced. And then he was like, "Will you marry me?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I will marry you." And it was so funny because my dad teased me because they asked me if I'd be their officiant with alcohol. Like, they brought over a cute little like champagne bottle, and when he was like, "Who brings their minister a bottle of alcohol?" I was like, "People that know their minister." Okay. I was like, "He made wine, not water." Okay. So. And so that was fun. So it's just, for sure.
I love it. I freaking love it. Okay, so, you know, speaking of kind of rolling into parent prep, because you know what, I see what you're saying now. Everything kind of rolls into each other, because hey, you're marrying people, and then you get to guide them through parenthood once they do decide to be parents. And so, you know, you started parent prep. I'm saying this right. Oh my goodness, sorry, it's been a long day.
No, you're right.
I got it right? I'm good. Oh goodness, I'm like, wait a minute, doesn't have a brain freeze.
No, it's parent prep. That's
parent prep. Okay, so you start parent prep, and it's, you know, what's your mission behind parent prep?
So right now it's to just help moms. So that fourth trimester, like right when baby comes, it could be overwhelming. I know I want it to be all the way hands on with the twins when they were born. I was like, I don't want help, and everybody's like, "Laurie, you're gonna need help." And I was like, I want to be there when the baby cries. I want to be the first person. And then I got there and I was like, "Whoa, y'all! I thought y'all meant it was gonna be like a little bit hard. This is hard." And so I kind of want to just have more education about what it is in that fourth trimester. As much as we plan the actual birth, there's always talk about a birthing plan and a birthing partner, and a lot more focus and emphasis on the birth. And I feel like a community, even a Black culture, we need to focus also on the postpartum, the after the birth. And so That was my
why do you think that that's so important?
Because I just feel sometimes we try to do it all. I tried to do it all. I wanted to be, this strong Black woman who my mom didn't need help. I don't need a nanny. I don't need assistance. That's weak.
Yeah.
How I feel. And as a culture, we do feel like a helping hand is not as strong. And so I didn't want help. I wanted to do it myself. I wasn't going to struggle. I wanted to show everybody I wasn't going to struggle. And then it was hard. And then I was a little bit struggling and I was a little bit sad. And I was just like, this is hard. And then I had to go back and take all that. What were you talking about, nanny, again? Like, because Benjamin, like, off the top, we need help. Like I'm telling you right now, we need help. And I was like, no, I got it. It's 2 of us, 2 of them. How hard could it be?
It's 2 of us, 2 of them. Never done it before. Be like, look, we're balanced.
And so I just want to that was the mission. And so actually I'm working on a nonprofit angle where I want to help mothers who are underage by themselves, who don't have that support system, mothers who teenage moms who have a hard time communicating. Either their parents aren't supporting them, the partner is not supporting them. They've already made the commitment to have the baby, but don't want to have alone. So we're going to work in the future about bringing open.
I love that. I love that.
That's coming soon. It's Ambassadors of Change. So
I freaking love that. Just so many things. The fact that you're like, hey, Black woman, it's okay to not be strong all the time, because we do carry, if you look at other societies, right, other cultures, they're allowed to be softer, they're allowed to have the help, right? But us as Black women all over, it ain't just American Black women. Like, I'm West African. You birth the baby and you've got to, Nigerians are actually really good about culturally, like the grandmother or the people will help bathe the child once you have the baby. So, which is really, really dope. But, but just in general, we're just really supposed to, like, I went back to work 4 weeks after having my child. And I had a whole C-section. Because I had bills to pay. And it's like, hey, better go to work. So I love the fact that you're like, hey, let's help women. But the teenage mom aspect, because, as much as we're going to say you should not be having children young, you should be having protected sex, you should, shit freaking happens, man. And a lot of kids are missing, even you could have the best of parents in your life, but stuff is still going to happen, right? So to say, hey, dear teenage mother, it's okay, I see you. You don't have to go through this.
Like the resources, because there's a lot of resources out there. It's just we're not access to them. We're not privileged to know them. We're not in the community that's promoting them. And so to have this, like, hey, if you've already committed to having this child, we're going to make sure the smoothest way possible. If you're already committed, then we're going to make sure you're not going to fail. You're going to still be able to get your education. Have your dreams come true, because this is not going to stop you. It's going to be your motivation. And so that's going to be pretty exciting.
That's super. Okay, so now as far as like resources, what kind of resources are available for someone that has had, a child and still wants to pursue their dreams?
And so depending on what school they want to go to, some scholarships offer childcare reimbursement. Some insurances will offer childcare assistance. And so there's certain schools that will accept grants that will help you. So it's just writing, depending on what field you are in, or interested in, there's different scholarships and grants out there. And so helping them find those scholarships, helping them find the community centers. Our community, I live not too far. I live in Midtown. It's not far from Emancipation Park. And the community center has childcare that's like through the whole summer for $10 a week. And if you can't afford they waive it. Yes. I went up there to vote the other day, and it was just the voting booth, and I was like, let me go look around, because I haven't been here before. And there was kids in there. I was like, oh, tell me more, because I got little brown boys too. And she was like, the summers, they can come play, and we'll watch them, feed them, and everything for $10 a week. And if you can't, and I was like, that's not that. How do you know that unless you know somebody that knows somebody that told them their kids there? But there's so many moms who are like just now in this predicament, like, how am I gonna figure out what to do with my child, or and so. It's just finding it out. And so finding what's going on in your community. If this is your circle, this is your bubble, you need to know everything in the 20-mile radius that can help you succeed. And so that's where we're kind of, we focus in on, hey, this is your area. I have a mom that's in Katy that helps, or I'm sorry, a doula in Katy that helps me. She speaks Spanish. And so she's like, hey, there's also going to be another, another side of this non-Spanish speaking side where it's like, hey, my biggest problem is communication. Because like, how do I know? And so it's there's resources out there, but you have to know, and you have to have the means to search. Like if you don't have internet, if you don't have a steady computer, or if you're, it's just, we just kind of have those intelligence to kind of find and navigate and can decipher through the rules on who qualifies,
Yeah. Well, and even if, so like I found myself a single mom. I hate using that term. It's just like mad annoying, but and not really having the financial resources, right? And my late 20s, and my sons and I were together for a few years, 2.5 years to be, Tristan was 2.5 when we split up. And like childcare is $400 a week.
Yes.
Well, maybe not $400 a week. It was, how much was I spending? 200 or so. It was like 150, 170 a week. Until he was fully out of like diapers and fully potty trained. And then, hey, then you get down to 150.
Yeah.
And like when you're I was making like $30,000 a year. Like I'm poor and I got to pay rent and we got to eat and all these other things, right? So I was thin as hell. I actually did go through like a whole cleansing, like mentally, spiritually and all that. So that was part of me being really small. But I had to pay for childcare, and I'm like, what the heck? I didn't qualify for government assistance because I made more than like $16,000 or some stupid
and that's
number
the hard
that they
part.
Put on you.
Like that threshold, there's so many people that are in that gap, that not enough to make enough to do what they're trying to do, but don't qualify for assistance because they make more than what someone that doesn't do anything makes. And it's just like, we're trying to help them. Like,
right. And like, I didn't know like what to search for. So I think the fact that you're like, able to, that's what your purpose is and what your passion is. I think that's super dope. Now, I always thought that a doula was someone that just helped you through childbirth. So you're really escalating it to another level.
Yes. And so there's different levels. So there's a birth doula. And if I had to be 100% honest, I'm not a fan of like the actual like blood and guts of the
why not?
Birth process. Like I don't want to touch the placenta. Like there's doulas that are really great and they do the placenta encapsulation where they put the placenta in the little capsules so you can eat your placenta. That's not my line. That's not me. I have some great referrals.
Wait.
Yes.
So those are doulas that do that. I always thought that you send it off to somebody and they do that.
Doulas do that. That is a level of, there's a certificate for that. And that's not where I come in. I come in usually around week 30. I like week 30 when that's that nesting phase and you're like, I need to get ready for the baby. I help you organize home. I help you prepare the other kids. I help you prepare your husband. I help you prepare your mom. Her baby. Don't, back off because sometimes that is the flow. It's like my mom is just so overbearing and I'm like, I got this. I don't want you to stress about things. And so I come in and I'm like, and I do it so politely so that nobody feels like their feelings are hurt, You smile and you're like, but let her try. Let's see what you got. And so that come in about week 30, sometimes week 28, but definitely more close to the third trimester. And then I prepare the home. And then my biggest concern is making sure mom is comfortable. So the baby is pretty much going to be kept. The baby's got a plan. The birth plan's been there, but it's making sure the mom's going to eat, making sure the showers are scheduled, making sure the food for the family is done. The laundry has a plan. So I'm not doing the laundry. I'm not cooking. I'm not cleaning the house, but I'm making sure there's a plan in place that it will get done.
Gotcha.
Professional planner when it comes to like things. And so even babies, like, and then the postpartum period, making sure the mom is in her best state of mind so she can get her sleep and making sure that her naps are planned. And because they say sleep with the baby sleeps, but most of the time the baby, you can't. Like you're driving, the baby sleep. How are you gonna sleep? Like I can't sleep. Like the baby sleep while you in the shower. I'm supposed to just stop and get out. So it's just like so I plan for those things. Because
that's crazy, stupid dope. So like you're more focused on the mental, it's really like mental health care, right?
I guess so. I mean, I never, until like I guess until last year, I didn't really think about it holistically. It's like, wow, this is more, it is. It's planning, it's getting the mind right. It's, I'm actually dropping a workbook. It's gonna be this summer. It's a postpartum workbook. So it helps moms think about this stuff in advance. And so if you don't have the means to afford a doula, you can get the workbook that just helps you plan it out yourself, because it's not like it's science. It just needs some guidance. You know, some people do need just guidance. And so it helps. And there's a section in the workbook that was like, I interviewed maybe like 30 different moms, and it was like, what do you wish somebody would have told you about the postpartum period that they didn't? And those answers are so opening, and like, I love them. And I love getting to the moms, because now when they get to that stage, they can't say, no one told me my hair was going to fall out, or no one told me. I told you, girl. So it is kind of nice to be like, okay, this is the start, you know. And so then that they know kind of how to prepare, because they've heard from another mom that thought that wouldn't happen. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's mad stupid though, because there's no handbook. Or maybe there isn't. Like I know I didn't think to research that, right?
Yeah.
So like, okay, I know marketing and sales is like your background. So how are you planning on getting the word out there? You know, outside of social media, let's get a little bit of free funds. Like how we do this plan.
Outside of social,
I'm asking for a friend, not for myself or anything.
Yeah. So another aspect of this parent prep is also preparing doulas, because I've had a couple of doulas approach me, and that's like, hey, I really like your content. I like your page. I like your info. I like your whole, you know, vibe. How do I do this? And so I started doula training, doula to doula training.
Wow.
One of the things I tell them is go to OB offices, OBGYNs, and introduce yourself, because a lot of times there's a mom that will come in by herself, and she's there not because she's a single mom, not because, you know, she just doesn't have anybody. Her husband's at work, her mom's out of town, her best friend has to go to work, and she's there, and she feels a certain way, you know. And so she's not wanting to go to her appointment. She's not as excited. She's down in the dumps, and you want to prevent that, because that energy is projected into those kids, and that's how generation we're about to bring. And so you go to this, you introduce yourself, and you say, hey, if you see someone that needs assistance, let me know. Let me reach out to them. Let me be that friend, that companion. And so I have a package where I go to the appointments with you. Like I sit in there and I'll write your little notes down, and I ask the doctor questions, so that, because you're going to get excited when you see your ultrasound. You're going to be like, oh my God, it's a girl. And then you forget everything else they said. And so I'm like, hey, I said you to get this test done, you know. And so those kind of fun trips that I take, you know, a field trip, you know, we have a field trip. But yeah, I would say I would recommend to a new doula who doesn't have, you know, a good social media following, to hit up OBGYN offices, hit up the birthing centers. There's a lot of birthing centers as mothers experience the water births. You know, so a doula in the state of Texas is not required to carry a certificate, but you can get the training, understand what's needed, and then make sure it's a reputable company. So there's CAPPA, CAPPA, and there's DONA, DONA, which are both really good. And then there's mine, is International Childbirth Institution or Academy. And it has, one of the only ones that offer CEUs for nurses. And so I felt like that was pretty accredited to say, hey, if this one can,
not dope. Yeah.
You know, they could do this, especially if it's not even needed. So that's why I chose the one that I chose. But you get your certificate, and then you have a little bit of background to know what you're talking about. Because of course a lot of it's your emotion and your feeling and how the moment feels, but it's to help you feel confident in your answers. And so I always the training, go meet the offices, go try the water births, and there's different stages of doulas. There's birth doula, there's a postpartum doula, which is my specialty, and then there's also death doula. And so when you have a mom that has a lot of, you know, miscarriages or stillbirth, there's somebody that helps them cope through that. And so there's different stages of the whole birthing process. And so there's the three most popular, I guess, or the most known, are the birth, the postpartum.
Why do you think that? Because I never, to be very honest with you, I had never heard of doulas prior to. It was a few, you know, like it was a few years ago, and I was on Facebook, and somebody I went to college with, she had said she's a doula, and I'm like, doula, like what is this? Right?
Yes.
And I'm like, what do you do? Like, I don't get it. You're there, you catch the baby. Like, I was totally uninformed of what a doula was. Like, you know, why do you think it's not something that is common, right? Like right now. And where do you see the future in, is it called dualism? I don't know. Is that a proper
Yeah.
phrase?
I think it's not as common because, well, two, we're working to get insurance coverage for doulas. It's expensive. For a long time, it was like, ooh, you can afford a doula? I'll have my best friend come, you know, and it was just like,
Yeah.
so that was a big part, was the financial aspect of it. And so
Yeah.
mental health and mother's well-being is more looked at a little bit closer with, you know, every 2020.
Yeah.
It's looking, I think California passed some legislation on approving doula expenses. I know when Obama passed because you get a free breast pump, here's a little, whenever you are pregnant, you get a free breast pump paid for by your insurance company automatically, no matter what insurance company, because that was a,
wow.
Yeah, that was a requirement from Obama's healthcare plan. And it's just not known, you know, like people don't know of it because they can't afford it, or it's not in their community, or they haven't met anyone that has it because they're around other people who can't afford it or who haven't had to have a doula. But what I see the future of it going is definitely as mothers are experimenting more with water births and non-traditional births and testing the hospitals. I actually prefer hospital births with my parents unless they are accompanied by a midwife. And so I always, like, I'm not a midwife. I'm not going to deliver your baby, but I will be there for you while she does. And that's just my whole thing. But as more and more women hear about other options and other alternatives and the assistance that comes with it, that by default, they're going to have more doula experience or more doula knowledge. And I was talking at a high school one day. It was maybe 3 months ago. And the lady asked, how many of you guys have heard of a doula? And like half the kids raised their hands. And I was like,
what?
Like, I know that because I know I didn't know a doula in high school. Like I probably
never heard of it.
30 years old. And sure enough, there was a TV show that had it out. And so there was some famous person on the TV show was a doula, and that's how they all. And I feel like when they start them off younger, when it becomes more and more culturally normal to have these, you know, these conversations in life, when TV shows stop showing breastfeeding as just popping it on and then being done, the mamas actually hooked up to the pumps, you know.
Yes.
And that's how we're gonna start changing the culture, is making it more realistic and not just how. So.
Yeah. No, I love that you say that. You kind of start with the youth. That's one of my big things is starting. You start young and you train mentally, because people like me. I mean, I'm 37 and I think yes. I'm like, how old am I? I mean, like, am I 37? I want to say 36. So I'm like, wait, am I 36, 37? I struggle. I think I'm 37.
I can't lie. I'm right with you. This like I know this year because it's a big one, but in between years, oh yeah, I'm all switching.
It's like I don't even know. So, but yeah, and I never, had even heard about it. But yeah, like pop culture definitely does set society. But starting at a young age, these kids are so smart because we have TV. So TV is definitely a blessing and a curse all at the same time. Now, with your kids going off to school, the twins are going to school, and you're going to still you have a 3-year-old, yeah? Is it
he's 2, but I got a little baby.
He's 2, a baby. So you have a couple more years kind of left with that. How have your children, I mean, like, you're clearly an entrepreneur and you guys are planning on continuing to build. I love what your husband's doing with, with Nursify. Like, you gotta plug the Nursify a little bit in there. But just, awarding Black nurses, Black and brown nurses, well, anybody, right? But just making sure that we're getting paid. I'm not a nurse. When I say we, I just mean the culture. That we're getting what our worth is, right? So you guys are definitely all about feeding the culture mentally, spiritually, financially, and all that good jazz. So, as your kids get older and go to, as you said, brick and mortar school, how do you see your life transitioning? Where do you see yourself, you as a mom, as a wife, as a businesswoman?
I feel like that's kind of where a lot of my push came. And it was, once the kids get older, I didn't want to have to find myself. I didn't want to have them go off and me be like, oh, now do I do? I kind of to have something that I was already invested in that I can continue to do once they were bigger. And so that I was, okay, parent prep, okay, officiate, because it was something I enjoyed doing that I could do once they were gone, once they were off. And so watching them, it's so cute because next month is World Lemonade Day or World National Lemonade Stand Day or something. It's Lemonade Day. And so they're like, when I tell you we're going to have this lemonade stand of the century, I'm talking about websites, business cards. They're going to have a whole Instagram page. Like, I'm so excited about it. But they're excited too. Like like this is a day of work. And they're like, you know, I want to be able to like do this. And it was so cute. My baby's on Wednesday is steak night. And so last night, one of them was like, I'm going to buy steak for the whole family. And he gave me his little $6, like one for everybody. And it was just so cute. Like, he understood, like, this cost money. I got it. You know, and it's like we're already seeing in them, like, wanting to work to be able to provide. And, like, they're seeing what a provider is that cares and is passionate and wants other people to be happy. And that money does help fund that. You know, it's just that it's not free to love. But it's like, it's free to care, but it's not, you know, so it's just like, I enjoy watching them watch us. And I'm better because I see them watching me. So now I'm like, ooh, make sure when it's right because they're watching and they're repeating. And when they go out, they're not going to embarrass me because they're going to do it right. And so this is going to be good.
Yeah, I love that. They're definitely learning from amazing role models. You know, what do you think your most important decision that you've ever made as a parent to date is?
The most important decision, well, I really do. That's a hard one at first, but I would probably have to say, I don't know. There's been a bunch of those, but if I had to think of one offhand, it would probably be the homeschooling, just because, you know, my dad, he's a big influence on me, but he talked a lot about how horrible homeschool was and how kids needed social aspects and how kids needed this and this. And to hear him eat those words now, I'm just kidding. But
like, it's just, hey, daddy, Laurie's daddy, if you're watching this.
No, but like really to like, because I listened to him on all aspects, but I also was, you know, I had to really make this decision. I did my research and then I watched kids and I see how much of an influence I was still able to be on their early, you know, 1 through 6 years. And so those first years are like the most critical, like molding years that you can get for them. Have like me see my personality in them and I'm like, yes, this is my kid. Like I'm off, you know, to do. And it was just, that was probably what, and I think the reason why I said that was probably my favorite decision is because I initially wasn't for it. And that was something that challenged me a little bit. They need to be in school mixing, they need to be cool kids, like they need to and I realize like, no, let me look at really like what's the best. Like if I was all the way heart aside, did the research and I was like, this actually is a good idea. Like this so that was probably one of the best ones I made. I mean, you know, I got my husband, but that was so
I, you know, I agree with both of them. The education of how you're going to educate your children, be intentional with that. And then that last part was, I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of waiting on you to say that. So I'm glad that you kind of picked up some ESP from me. Because it's so important to pick a spouse that you're aligned with, that can really help you elevate yourself mentally, right? Because if you didn't have that sense of protection, you wouldn't feel safe enough to just explore and be the best mom and be the best businesswoman and be the best friend and just be this dynamic person that we are so blessed with. Oh my goodness. Like, I just like when Rama first told me, because we share obviously a mutual friend. And when Rama first told me about you, she was like, Laurie knows everything. She's amazing. I love her. She's great.
Rama's so sweet.
Which she is. Okay. Yes. And so I was like, oh, you're so sweet, girl. But then I met you and I'm like, no, how the heck do you just know everything? Like, how are you so like phenomenal? So in the next, you know, few years, you're a planner, but you seem also to have a slight free spirit self way about yourself. Yeah. What do you see, like, where do you want to be at with your businesses? We've already talked about parenting, so business wise, with Parent Prep, it sounds like it's a huge one for you. Where do you want to be?
And so I really think pushing out, because I'm really big on volunteerism, so it's like pushing now the side of the helping teen moms. That's where I want to see that. I want to see that flourish and be able to empower other doulas to help me support that mission. And so that's where I want to see the parent prep grow. And then that also gives me something to do when the kids are out of the house, when they're done, when our consulting is at a a stable situation right now. We're swamped, and it was a lot. Good work. I'm not going to complain about it at all, but I'm definitely at capacity. And so I do know, sometimes you can say, this is capacity and I'm done. Like, this is okay.
You're like, no, for real.
I'll tell Benjamin, I'll tell my husband, oh, you can fit one more assignment in. Like, you see the invoice, you're like, oh, you can do it. But I like him or something, because I'm like, woo, I don't know how we're going to make this work, but you got it. You got it. I believe in you. I don't believe in me like that. And so
I believe in you.
Like, I've always thought about like politics. Like, I'm not really a politician, but I thought it was kind of congresswoman, so that's always an option. I guess I am more free spirited than I am on, like, out loud or on paper, but well, the whole thing was I wanted to be a first lady, and I was like, but the church route,
oh my God, first lady church. Oh, I thought you meant like first lady in life. I'm like, you are so like boss man wife vibes, who like enough, right, to be able to support your spouse, like, legit. And then on top of that, like, the pinned comment, if you're gonna sell anything, sell yourself, like, period. So
that's how I feel. Like, I don't want to really be the actual mayor, but I'm cool with him running and me being first lady. So I'm gonna push him. That is coming. I'm gonna really push him. I know it was in our pipeline at first for 2024. I think we're gonna be now, but I'm pushing them. I'm gonna push them.
Oh my God! And the thing is, like, y'all are gonna do it. I'm
gonna push it. So
I can't wait to see, like, where you grow and where you go to. So before we kind of head out here, I try to only keep this to an hour, because I know you got a whole family. Okay, you got a whole husband, got a whole family. So I can talk to you all day, and I got a whole bunch of other stuff to talk about, which we're likely gonna bring you back onto Sips Elevated at some point. Okay. You got to join that conversation, and get more in detail about some of these things. Education, wink, wink, is gonna definitely be one of them. But what is your, my favorite comment that you said is, and I'm legit, I need to, like, write this down. Like, if you're going to sell something, the best thing you can sell is yourself. Like, that is, I'm going to take that with me. What is your quote, or whatever you live by, mantra? Like, what do you live by on a day-to-day basis?
I feel like the biggest theme right now is love hard. Like, whatever it is, if it's done out of love, and you love hard with it, it's gonna be all right. Because if it doesn't work out, you had a good moment. Like, that was a good moment. You made somebody else, like, the way the butterfly effect works, like, you changed the world with that love. And so I really like right now our whole theme is, like, love hard. Like, well, it was love. It was a lot of love, and it was fun. And you see that in the children, you see that in your work, you see that in your circle. So love hard. If you're gonna do it, love hard with it. Like, I feel like that's how I have to say is, if you love it, whether it's relationship or your career or whatever you're doing, but you put your love and your heart, your sweat into it, it's gonna be all right. It's nothing can't come wrong from that. If anything, you have something to take away. So
no, I love that, and that's probably what I'm going to. I don't know. I'm likely to title it "Love Hard." I mean, and I'm gonna throw in my little my little thing right here in there too. Not my thing, your thing, but love hard, because don't have any regrets. So you can't close that out any better than this. And I wanted to ask you about your skincare too, but I'm gonna slide in your DMs, okay? Because I need to.
I've had the wrong time. It's actually 2022. I found